just refresh at the top. So, hey, it's a Corpsepaint show at the end of January 2020, and I just want to let everyone know that you can watch us on Roku Ultra Toxic TV, and if you're watching us on Facebook, please join in the chat room. Monitoring chat room tonight is Lily Lurid. We're going to hear more from her later. Thank you for being here. We'll get to our guest, ARON RA, shortly, and this is the Corpsepaint show. It's great to have my fellow misanthrope here, ARON RA. And, you know, guess what, ARON? We have been teaching people to think for themselves, encouraging people to think for themselves here on this show since 2016.
Should have started in 2015. We'd be better off.
One more year under our belt. So we've got Lily here. We got ARON here. But first part of the show, we're going to spend a little time with General Riff, who's speaking to us via a video call from Central Texas somewhere in his spacecraft. So we're going to say hi to General Riff from ZORBOJE. Riff, are you there?
Oh, I'm here. Hold on just a moment.
Wait a second.
How are you doing?
I'm not sure if that's really you.
Yes, it is. I'm currently hovering above Central Texas, just working on some music.
So ZORBOJE, excuse me, ZORBOJE is the best band in the galaxy. Do I have that right?
Absolutely. We're the greatest band in the galaxy. We've been around a while, and we like to keep it that way.
And all of the members have disguised their identity.
Oh no, we're not disguised. We're aliens. We're not of this planet. We trek through the multiverse, and the reason we wear all this is because of the sun. It doesn't agree with our skin. So
it doesn't with us either on Earth. It causes cancer. It's you know, really we support the nighttime, not the daytime.
Oh, believe
here.
me. Yeah, I understand. I'm an expert on human culture myself.
Okay. You for an alien, your accent sounds very Texan. I'm just saying, General.
It's just like that episode.
We've
of
spent
Doctor
a
Who.
lot of time in Texas.
It's just like
we like it here. It's the best place to play.
It's like that episode of Doctor Who, and they said, if you're from space, then how come you sound like you're from the north? And he replies, lots of planets have a north.
Lots of planets have a central hill country, right? Were
yes.
you? Did you tell me you were from Austin, or you lived in Austin?
No.
No. Okay. For some reason, I keep thinking ARON is Austin also. But hey, if you are hovering over Dallas in future coming weeks, you will see a lot of cool shows at Gas Monkey Live and Gas Monkey Bar and Grill, General Riff. And I'll keep you posted on that. We're going to talk about that later in the show. So
nice. Yeah, unfortunately, we haven't made it out there to Dallas yet. We've kind of stuck around San Antonio, Austin area, Japan a little bit. But I haven't made it up to Dallas yet.
That's all right, man. How would you describe ZORBOJE's music?
The greatest rock music in the galaxy.
Heavy metal,
Period.
Straight ahead rock.
Period, yes.
We're gonna show.
Heavy metal. I have to appreciate all these black metal albums you sent me. They're really good. I appreciate them. And,
no. Wait, no, I did not send you that one. No.
Thank you.
I frankly despise Phil Collins, and I'm sorry if I'm offending anyone in the room. But no, he's just not a favorite. Hey, General Riff.
Yes.
General Riff. Now, all right, song structure. It's got to be something that sounds a little bit light when you're floating in the air, but you're telling me no, it's all heavy.
Well, it's mildly heavy. We like to experiment with different things. A lot of synthesizers. All of our drums are drum machines because drums don't work in space. So it's a good mix of like electronic and what you would refer to as 90s metal, all just kind of vacuum formed into this nice little disco box and sent to your planet.
So what you're telling me is this band of aliens has a robot for a drummer.
No, well, technically, kind of. Our ship's computer does happen to generate drum riffs, I guess you could say.
I think he's trying to say yes.
Our...
General Riff, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Basically, our keyboard player, who's named Major Minor, is the one in charge of all that. So that would be a question for him, not me. I just am the greatest guitarist in the universe. But continue.
Yeah, I recognize the bucket.
Right. But I don't think it's a bucket. It's a space helmet. So, hey,
this is a space helmet.
You know what we might do? We want to show. Why not show both your videos? So can we segue right now to that new one that just dropped today? Home Away from Home? Was that it? Excuse me.
Yes, that is our newest song, and we have another song called Robot Annihilation, which is I don't know how to explain it. It's pretty decent. Not our greatest work, but gives you more of an idea of what we're about and why we're here. And in case you don't know, we save the planet from giant monsters. So kind of like as you refer to as Ultraman, but we're ZORBOJE.
Am I saying it right? ZORBOJE? ZORBOJE.
You can say it however you want to say it. It sounds different every time we come to a new version of Earth. So however you prefer to say it.
Anything happening in the chat room over there, Lily? Lurid? Okay.
Yet.
All right. So if you're on Facebook, join in the chat room and hit us up for any comments about General Riff, ZORBOJE, and or ARON RA, and his book we will get to shortly. Okay, so let's take a couple of minutes right now and show the first portion of Home Away from Home riff, and I like this one a lot. This is the brand new one. See, I think of it as music for the 22nd century, just 80 years early. That's how I envision it. All right, Lily, what's going on chat room? A lot of ZORBOJE fans, or a few, and one of them is Corey, and he said ZORBOJE rocks?
Yeah, pretty much. ZORBOJE is the light, the path, and the way.
Okay. We'll be touching on that. And what was the other one that he saw them when they were doing a show in space or something?
Yep, he was there when ZORBOJE used a fat and tasty bass riff. So.
General Riff, are you able to hear that?
Absolutely. I appreciate it very much.
And
I don't know how I was able to breathe out there, but
hails to your fat and tasty bass riffs. And Richard said hails.
Richard Nettleton said hails.
Hails, Richard. And Brittany Ann?
Brittany Ann said, why howdy.
Thank you very much. Any comments? We'll put them there live, and Lily will relay them to us.
We got a hell yeah from Joe Manco.
Hails to Joe. I think Joe's familiar with ZORBOJE. ZORBOJE.
Yes, absolutely. We love Joe. We love Catalina. We love Little Spark Productions.
I want you to say that louder so they can hear you.
We love Little Spark Productions. We appreciate Joe and Catalina, all of them.
Man, awesome. And I think they did see the band recently or saw General Riff somewhere these past 2 weeks, so that's good news. All right, General Riff, tell us a little about Far Away From Home. Obviously a space song, some great synth in there, but it does get driving metal, and yeah, why wouldn't anyone listen to this on a Sunday night on the Corpsepaint Show?
Well, I have no idea. We worked a little harder on that song than the other, and actually that was going to be a part of an album. We recorded about 25 songs. We were doing a double album, and unfortunately all of it was on one hard drive, and it was stolen out of the Earth vehicle. So we have to start completely over. But instead we're doing a pilot for a TV series, and we're going to use all the recycled songs from that on that. And yeah, they're all going to be around that kind of vibe. So a little bit heavier than some of our older stuff, definitely. And I'm glad you like it.
I do. And all right, so the TV series, I'm sure this is a sci-fi?
Absolutely. There are some people involved that want to tell our story. I'm not sure how they're going to do that without us being involved directly, but we've given them the rights, and we're going to let them kind of take on from there and do what they want to do.
Check back in with us when that is happening, and we want to know about that. Absolutely.
Perfect.
If there's a ZORBOJE documentary, we want to know about it here first.
Documentary TV show?
Yeah, TV show. Yeah. Hey, all right, very good. And tell us about the other song. We're going to play that video in a moment, too.
Oh, yes.
Robot.
This actually is how we got the first people to contact us about a show. Is apparently they had seen us fight this monster, which is a giant robot, and they decided to recreate it and film it and give it to you guys, and that is the music video itself. We're not directly involved with it, but it looks pretty good.
It sure does, and yeah, so touches of large monster attacking the city. This is Robot Annihilation. We're going to show about 2 minutes of it. If Ziggy, our wonderful engineer, is all queued up, and then we'll come right back to you, General Riff. Yes, we hear it. Hey.
I like how these uniforms are completely not like ours at all. They're missing the visors and they're missing the masks. I don't know how they did that. Sounds pretty good though.
So you can watch the whole thing, the full video, on ZORBOJE's YouTube channel. Right, Riff? Hey, you can watch the entire video on ZORBOJE's YouTube channel, so subscribe and stay up to date. Robot Annihilation, I love it. Riff, it's been great to talk to you. Wish you the best for the
appreciate
band, and let's stay in touch regarding all your future projects, etc., the TV show, and everything about ZORBOJE.
Absolutely, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me.
You're very welcome, man. Let's talk again soon. Adios for now.
All right, transmission out.
As we say in Texas, adios. We are going to bring to you ARON RA and talk about American atheism, etc. And before we jump to him, a cool... Well, let's hear from Lily. What were some of the other comments?
Got a couple more comments coming in. Joe Manco said, kill robots. Corey chimed in with another comment saying General Riff saved a baby from a leopard fire of Saturn using only the sonic waves flowing from his axe. See, and Richard also chimed in saying, destroy the robots before they destroy you.
That's
I
right.
think that is sound advice.
Right, yeah. Richard is always solid. Always. Hails, Richard. We're going to show a quick trailer while we transition to ARON RA. The movie, this is an independent horror film. Lily, it's called Roadhead.
Very nice.
It
Does
might
mean
not be what
it
you
means?
think. It's what now?
Does it mean what I think it means?
Yes, it does. Plus more.
Wow.
This is
Got my
Roadhead.
attention.
Excuse me, and we'll be right back with ARON.
I think we're close.
I got cell service, but no GPS.
I'm calling the police.
We just found 2 severed human heads. Run!
Are we gonna ignore the human heads on the road?
What a great...
Will you kiss me?
I just got an idea.
Idiot!
Can I get a factory reset on my Stephanie? Because this one is stuck in mode.
What are your thoughts?
Quality cinema.
Right. That's what we're about here on this show. Is
Takes me right back to the 80s.
very 80s influenced and ultra violence, gore, blood. We're all about that. Welcome, ARON RA. Thank you for being in the studio with us, man. Carving out some time, your busy schedule, to talk to us.
Oh, my pleasure. You got a straw?
I do. Yeah, it's a wooden straw, so it'll last forever.
All right.
We have a collection of dead babies here, and as you might notice, the human centipede baby is the one Lily wanted close to her.
I think that's my favorite so far.
Which one now?
The centipede.
Yeah. Can you kind of shove it over to the camera so we can kind of... Yeah, it's getting there. Fair enough. Thank you for being here, Lily. Please chime in anytime. ARON. Foundational Falsehoods of Creationism. Why is it that Christians feel so compelled to... They're just shaking in their boots, to me, in my opinion, because they're nervous about someone who writes something like this, and then they have to respond with a similar sounding title, you know, about you or about your work. And I don't know, if you had confidence in your faith, would you have to constantly be sweating all the time that other people are writing tomes about science?
It's all about make-believe. And they're very upset that they no longer control the narrative, and so they can't make people believe. And for a lot of them, this is certainly not true of all of them, but there are people out there who know that what they believe is not true, and some of them, on rare occasions, have even admitted this to me. That, you know, in one sense or another, they'll phrase it different ways, but that they know that what they believe is not true, but they're going to believe it anyway.
But you have had success in converting. Well, maybe not. Maybe you didn't intend to, but you know, converting people to our side. Frankly, you probably frightened some people to their side too.
I try to look at it as I'm simply reasoning with people, and not everybody is fundamentally dishonest. Now, it is true that everybody who makes a living peddling creationism, if you earn your living promoting, you know, the literal accuracy of Genesis and all that, well, then you're a professional liar. That's just hands down. There is not one word of truth to creationism or creation science or any of that, but there are a hell of a lot of lies, and I've got a two-part challenge for that. One of the things I like to do as far as doing these projections that you're talking about, they want to project all of the things they're doing onto other people. It's a phenomenon that I call the pot calling the silverware black.
The pot calling the silverware black. I want to make sure our engineer can hear you fine. We're good.
Hello.
All right, good. Yeah, I like it when you're real close, but he said you're good. So
all right. So so where was I?
Pot calling the silverware black.
Yeah, I forget what the thought was that was going on with that.
Well,
I just completely shorted out.
That's all right. My fault. We were just chatting about converting others, and that this phenomenon occurs sometimes when you're talking to the religious-minded.
Oh yeah, and so what they want to project is that that evolution is a fraud, which of course creationism is a fraud in the literal legal definition of what a fraud is, to bilk someone for money.
Yeah.
You know, but evolution, of course, is not, and neither is atheism. They want to say that atheism and evolutionism, right? Well, that they're just other religious perspectives. So the lack of religion and the objection to religion are somehow religions unto themselves. You know, which means off as a channel on your TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we can argue about what kind of car a pedestrian drives.
Right.
But my two-part challenge is that, you know, to tell these people to name one evolutionary scientist who lied in the act of promoting evolution over creationism.
That's a challenge.
There's like three names that come up, well, there's three suggestions that come up, they're not always names. One of them is, and they're all wrong. It was like everybody wants to say Ernst Haeckel and they don't even know what the hell they're talking about. Or they will say Piltdown Man, which of course is not a scientist. And then there was another one was Nebraska Man, which again, that's not a scientist. And so what is the lie in each case? Quote it verbatim. Now for that first part of the challenge, they got to tell me who lied, what the lie was. Right? And so it has to be a verbatim quote. You can't just make up stuff and say, sure. And this happens to me all the time. People say that I believe things I don't believe, or that well, you act like whatever they want to assume that I'm acting like. But I don't think I'm acting like at all. And then the second part of the challenge, that first part, you say the name, you give the lie, and I'll show you what the real story is. And then the second part of the challenge, name one creationist, one professional creationist, who did not lie when promoting creationism over evolution. And in this case, there's no other burden of proof. You just throw out the name. You give me the name, and I will show you what lie he told.
All right, all right.
And how we know that it is a lie. How he knew that what he said was wrong, and he said it anyway.
Our nation is full of Christian nationalists right now. But
they own and control everything.
How would we define that? How would you define it?
How would I define Christian nationalism?
Yes.
Well, it's very tribal, very insular, very dichotomous thinking, is very binary. And it's a strong emotional, usually conservative attachment to both the patriotism and usually race. So quite often it's white Christian nationalism.
Sure.
Almost synonymous. I could say that the Venn diagram on that looks pretty much like a circle. Yeah.
All right. And so, but Christian nationalists now are trying to convince us that we were founded as a Christian nation. Not true. That we should allow reading the Bible in school, or however they think. And that this sort of tribalism, as you call it, nationalism, is frightening. Is frightening for anyone who is really pondering this.
I recently got into, like a week or two ago, I got into a debate that I've been gunning for this guy for several years, since at least 2005. The former chairman of the Texas State Board of Education.
Yeah.
He had done more damage, I think, to not just to science, but to sex and social studies. So sexual education, where, Texas advocates abstinence only, which is why we have the highest rate of repeat teen pregnancies. or we had. No, I think we still have. I think 5 years running, we still have the highest rate of repeat teen pregnancies. Because here's the plan. We will deny kids birth control. We will deny them sex education. There are kids in this state who are like tweeting each other saying that, you know, that they're arguing about whether sex causes pregnancy. That's how stupid some of these kids are. And so we deny them this information. We deny them any kinds of birth control. Of course, we deny them abortions. And then when their kids are born, so that we have more and more kids having kids, then we deny them welfare. We deny them any of those, like WIC programs. We deny them any kind of benefit that would have helped, you know, unwed or single mothers, you know, or just struggling young parents who, of course, don't have a lot of money, and they're now stuck in the situation of perpetual poverty, which is why we have a third of the children in this state are below the poverty line. And that's just going to continue to get worse. The plan is to divide, the plan apparently is to divide the haves from the have-nots, to keep these kids having kids until they're perpetually poor, and that will draw a line of distinction so you minimize the middle class. There's dwindling middle class, and then we have the rich people, and we have everybody else, and we become a third world country.
Yes. Lily, keep us up to date.
Oh, everybody's been quiet so far.
How does that happen, Aaron, when you're speaking? How does that happen?
Well, this is not a thing that people generally have opinions about.
Okay. So, yeah, right. So, what bugs me is that the religious right tries to hijack certain words as their own, only. Life, truth, absolute. You know, they steal these words and say, you know, we are the truth. We are the you know, the truth. You know, so I don't know. That's what irritates me.
Yeah, I have to constantly remind them that the truth is what the facts are, what we can show to be true. And you can claim that what you believe is the truth, but if you can't show that there's any truth to it, if you can't show me the truth of it, then you're just talking out of your ass. And so scientists have to, and we get criticized for this a lot. I mean, people that advocate science or teach science or are scientists themselves have to be honest in how they present the information. We cannot say that something is true unless there is indicative evidence to imply that that is true.
Sure.
To show, we can show multiple lines of evidence indicating this fact.
It's just not a word used often by scientists.
We don't usually use the word truth, but we adhere to truth.
Sure.
Religious liars use the word truth lots more than honest people do. And they also use absolute to mean unreasonable, you know, in a secret kind of context. So we wouldn't say that something is true unless we can show the truth of it. We can't even say if something is possible unless we can show that that possibility exists. So what we're talking about, and in order to show a possibility, we can't just say that anything is possible because there's lots of things that are not possible. It is not possible for a cow to jump over the moon. There's no way. Any physicist will have to agree, yeah, that's not going to happen. It's not that there's a small probability. No, that's zip. That's not going to happen at all. So in order to say whether something is possible, it might be possible and we don't know, but we can't say that it is.
Right.
Unless we can show a precedent or a parallel or a verified phenomenon indicating that possibility. Then we can show that there's a truth to it. There's a possibility. Scientists will say that this may be the case or that this might have happened when we can show that there are lines of development or indications that this actually has been established, that this could have been the way that it went down.
Sure.
We're not a belief system, so we're not going to assert things and just make you believe those things. We're about thinking, not believing.
Yes, and part of that is having doubt. It's healthy.
Exactly. That's how you figure things out.
Hello.
And when you assert things that are not true, well, that's fundamentally dishonest. To assert baseless speculation as though it were a matter of fact. I mean, like all those guys that say, well, I know for a fact there's a God. No, you don't know it because knowledge is demonstrable with measurable accuracy. You can show what you know, and if you can't show it, you don't know it. And a fact, of course, is what is objectively verifiable. So it's not objectively verifiable that there's a God. And they always want to use these words. They want to evoke a strong belief. And I'm not trying to evoke a strong doubt. I'm not trying to be Cartesian. You know, I'm just saying, don't let your mouth write checks your ass can't.
Yes, there you go. There you go. You're a board member of American Atheist Association. What's going on? What events? I mean, what is 20? In fact, there we are. That's the website. We want to show your website as well.
Oh, don't show my website.
You don't want it?
No, I need a new webmaster for mine.
Okay, you're going to update and kind of. All right, fine. That one was American.
You can show my Patreon page if you like that one. That's how I make my living.
All right, good. What is it?
Patreon.com/ARONRA.
Cool.
I was an activist while working at a job. I was working in a corporate office for like 14 years. And if I were not already an atheist, that job would have been enough to teach me that there's no such thing as a soul. I had exactly the same job as Mr. Incredible in the movie The Incredibles.
Okay.
I worked in the same cube farm.
Yeah, Cubicle World.
I denied little old ladies their insurance coverage. That was I had his job, and I hated every awful minute of it. And I would.
Is that it? Is that it?
That's my Patreon page.
There we go.
And I would, while I'm at work, because it wasn't a very demanding job, I would also be like pulling up illustrations for my video series, or writing scripts, or pulling up citations. And I'm multitasking while I'm doing my job. I'm also doing this. And in the last year or two, they started monitoring everything that you do. So I can't change the screen on my computer. I know I've fully rehearsed what I need to do with my job. I can easily be looking at pictures and selecting
You do
slides
two things at once. Sure.
But I can't anymore, so they blocked it. And I remember I had this discussion with my boss when I told him that my job interfered with my work. Very shortly after that, we had a different conversation. We had that conversation, and where he started challenging me on the Bible and religious belief and whether I believe on faith and all of that. And that went south really quick.
Yeah.
But I did manage to get an eloquent apology out of the man.
All right.
In writing. So that was...
All right. Prevent any lawsuit.
Exactly.
Sure. There we go. Yes. What's up, Lily Lurid?
Jennifer says cube life is the worst.
Jennifer says cube life is the worst. The cubicle world, that's what America is.
When I started in that job, I was initially helping people.
Yes.
It started out as a internet service provider, and I have these satisfied little old ladies that they're back online and I've fixed their problem. But it somewhere it turned from software to hardware, and then it stopped being computers and started being major appliances, and suddenly I'm covering warranties instead of the actual functionality, and then I'm just screwing people. And the job became, all these little old ladies. It always breaks my heart to hear these little old ladies when they would say, but I'm paying for peace of mind. What can I tell you?
Yeah.
So every time somebody calls and advertises a warranty, I'm like, no.
Can we take a break here and jump to something? Then I want to come back to your book. But there's some cool events coming up at Gas Monkey Live and Gas Monkey Bar and Grill. And I think the first one we want to talk about is one you're going to be vending at. Now, that's called 20 Years of KNON with Raven Dungeon, a big metal festival. I think I showed you the poster. Yeah, it's that one right there. Now, this is the event page. So, Raven Dungeon has been on air at KNON 89.3 FM, playing extreme metal for 20 years. And look who's going to be a vendor there.
Look who it is.
Look who it is. That's Lily Lurid, who is monitoring our chat room tonight. Thank you, Lily.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
What a wild picture. Now, what will you be vending? Rumor has it there might be some dead bodies.
Well, you're not entirely wrong. I'll have some human remains, cremains, skulls, all the basics.
These are things that appeal to metalheads.
Yes, they
are. Of course.
Of
Yeah,
course.
or anyone who is into the dark side of art.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That is very true.
So there will be 6 bands on that bill. It is on a Sunday. It's on, so Kill Everything is headlining that Sunday, February 16th. So it's Valentine's Day weekend. And it's the Sunday to come and bang your head in support of and appreciation of and a birthday for Raven Dungeon. There will be other vendors too, which we'll be announcing, and more information on that event page. And then there's one 3 days after that at Gas Monkey Bar and Grill, and it is called Dance Beat Addiction, where I'll be DJing. And there's the event page for that one.
February 19th.
February 19th. It's a Wednesday night. It's a Wednesday night. And then if we jump over to the Gas Monkey website, System 6 is headlining that night. And we'll scroll down and see another poster This is my friend Audrey Scorn. Dance Beat Addiction, No Withdrawal. And I think she'll be dancing on stage. Lily, will you join her? Wouldn't that be fun?
I think that would be
I don't mean
fun.
to put you on the spot.
No, yeah, go
So,
ahead.
okay. So, that's an electronic night with DJs and then an industrial band headlining called System 6. So, the shout-outs to Gas Monkey, their events, and also our wonderful sponsor, Liquid Death. We say death to plastic because this is in recyclable aluminum and is high pH water that is super healthy for you. They have a wonderful website too, liquiddeath.com. And they're just doing more and more, sponsoring more events, and I love it. I feel good after drinking a Liquid Death, and you should too. All right, so there's the book as our background. Can we talk first about Lilith, a.k.a. some people would call her Satan? Explain.
Yeah, that is. I don't know if it still exists. We were at the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, and that is the pedestal is the main entrance for. Well, it's the pedestal part where you have this statue of some bishop or something, saint. I don't know what they do, but in the pedestal of that you have that relief, and Lilith. Well, the serpent, from the temptation of Eve, is depicted as a naga, which is a woman's upper body with a snake's lower body, and there you go. And that character, in the Jewish tradition, the Lilith character was Adam's first wife, and the story goes that God created both of them at the same time, and then Adam wanted to take a dominant position, being literally on top, and Lilith wasn't having that. And she
didn't like missionary.
Her secret weapon was that she knew God's real name, and that gave her the ability to fly. So she flew out of the Garden of Eden, and then had a big orgy with a bunch of demons on the shores of the Red Sea. This is a Jewish Talmudic tradition.
Okay.
And then after that, Adam needs another wife, so God started to create another wife for him, and Adam was watching the formation of this woman with no flesh and everything as God is putting her together, and he thought that was grotesque and revolting, so God put him to sleep and did the rib trick.
Pull out the rib.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As if a God who speaks things into being had to do that.
Had to pull a body part out of someone.
Then, interestingly, according to one of these ancient Hebrew traditions, Lilith shows up in the garden again to meet Adam's younger, newer wife.
Eve.
Yes.
And
Lilith, as you know, because she's depicted as a serpent, she shows up and spoils their marriage.
Their garden.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And so this is why, mind you, where was this? This Lilith, the serpent is a woman with a snake's body. The serpent, Satan, was never depicted as a woman.
As female.
Right. But this is on Notre Dame Cathedral. Now, also, Lilith is portrayed as a serpent, or I'm sorry, the serpent is portrayed as a woman, specifically Lilith, on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel by Michelangelo. Matter of fact, all of the Renaissance artists, all the greats, all of the Ninja Turtles.
Hieronymus. Bosch, right? All the Ninja Turtles. Okay, see.
They all depicted
all right.
this female Naga character as the serpent in the temptation of Eve.
In the Bible, does it say that the serpent is Satan?
Never once. Now, you get into Revelations, and there is a mention of Satan being that old serpent, but they don't mean that old serpent. In this case, you got to remember that going back to the middle of the book, Jesus is telling the Pharisees that they are the sons of Satan and that they are the sons of vipers, which doesn't mean that Satan is a viper either. Mm-hmm. And he's certainly not being literal. He's talking to the Pharisees. He's not saying that they are literal snakes, nor is he saying that they are literal devils. But then we get to the last book of the New Testament is not written by the same guy who wrote the first book of the Old Testament, right? So their description of Satan is he is a dragon, essentially. There's lots of different versions of serpent, the word serpent back then. Many of them included legs. They included lizards. They included dragons.
Okay, with legs. Got it.
Exactly. So Satan was a dragon standing on the beach. Now, this is a character who was cursed to crawl on his belly all the rest of his days. If the serpent was supposed to be Satan, then why is it that after the story of the serpent is over, where serpent is now cursed to crawl on his belly all the rest of his days, as all other snakes, right? So he's just the father of snakes. That's it. The first time we see Satan mentioned by name is Job, where Satan is described as walking.
Yes.
And God has to ask, well, where were you? Oh, I was walking here and walking there.
The earth, yes.
I was doing anything that I wouldn't be able to do if I were cursed to crawl on my belly all my life.
Right, I was walking.
So, a lot of the ways that you read the Bible is you have to ignore what it says and read between the lines and just ignore the lines. and you know, believe that it says things that it doesn't.
I think Lily's full name is Lilith.
It is, yes.
Is it? Yeah, well, see, then...
You were familiar with all of this, were you not?
I was, yes, sir.
All right, so you were aware of the fact that that the serpent is never referred to as Satan? See, because this is eye-opening to me. I guess I believed, all of that.
It gets worse than that, actually. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, morning star? That was Isaiah making fun of Babylonian astrology, because they had this story that Hallel ben Shahar, and this is literally Venus, they're talking about the planet Venus, who is he's cast as the son of the dawn. There's twin brothers, the dawn and the dusk, right? Shahar and Salim, so Hallel ben Shahar. So they're anthropomorphizing dawn and dusk. And of course they worship the sun, which is El. So El is the father. I mean, when the sun comes up, all the stars and everything, they go away. Venus is the morning star. Venus is the light bringer. But Venus never ascends higher than the moon. Venus disappears when the sun rises. So this is Venus falling from heaven. It was never supposed to be about an angel being cast out of heaven. It wasn't even, it was a completely different mythology. And Isaiah was making fun of this other mythology. He would have never thought that we would have so badly misinterpreted what he wrote to mean that it was the Satan character.
Yes, yes. The interesting chapter in here, too, just to kind of cut to it, because we're a little bit limited on time. We might have to have you back after you return to these shores. I know you got a big trips coming up. Is on transitional species. And, you know, the argument from fundamentalists is there are none. So, therefore, evolution is disproved.
What they want is a half tree, half crocodile. Or half elephant, half banana.
Please chime in. Anything you've got there.
Richard said that this is definitely a book that he needs to get and read.
All right, Richard. Yeah, Richard, it's right here, man. Foundational Falsehoods of Creationism. I want to make sure I read it correctly. ARON RA is the author, and you can pick this up anywhere books are sold. Please check it out, Richard.
Yeah, a quick thing on the transitional species was that the first transitional species to be discovered as a transitional species was one of the ones that Darwin himself predicted. He realized that birds have hands, their wings are different than their feet, right? Now most things will have, fingers or hooves or whatever. The foot and the hand is going to be the same way. He realized that bird fingers or like reptilian fingers fused together, and he says, well, if birds actually descend from dinosaurs, as was indicated, and even Huxley, his friend, was already identifying this, he said that we should find somewhere in the fossil record, we would find a bird with unfused wing fingers. Not 2 years later, Archaeopteryx lithographica.
That's right.
Unfused wing fingers. And that fossil also fulfilled a number of other predictions too, but he'd specifically laid out one of them, and another one that he identified that was famously called the missing link. He projected that we would have something that was morphologically halfway between what we knew of apes and like the living apes, because we didn't know of fossil apes at the time, and the earliest human that was then known, and that was Homo erectus. That creature was discovered in 1974. So people will still say that the missing link is still missing. No, it ain't. It hadn't been missing for decades. It's been 40 some odd years now, and we've had it, and we found hundreds of them. A lot of people want to dismiss it with saying that, well, it's only one fossil or it's only one individual. You don't have all the bones. Usually don't.
Usually,
usually don't. But we have enough to know there was a thing there.
Yep.
Right? And in this case, we didn't just find, we found 300 some odd individuals.
Side thing, and interrupt Lily if there's anything. Lilith.
Yeah, absolutely. We just got one comment in. Jennifer says, this is why translations are important and how well your translator understands the source materials. If not, you end up with all the changes like in the different books within the Bible.
Excellent point.
Yep. For example, in Matthew, Matthew misread something out of Isaiah again, where Isaiah 7 was talking about an unmarried woman. I forget the Hebrew word Bethulah or something like that, but it meant unmarried woman. It did not mean virgin. But that's how it was translated nonetheless. And Isaiah was saying that there was this woman who is with child, and that by the time this child is old enough to choose honey over curds, then you will know that these enemies of the king are no longer a threat. So Isaiah was not talking about Jesus. There's no way he could have been talking about Jesus. Then Isaiah realized that that woman wasn't pregnant, like he said she was.
Oh.
So he had to impregnate her.
Oh, well.
So that he could make his self-fulfilling prophecy come true. And then he said what the child was going to be named, and then he forgot to name the child that thing. but then it got even worse, because the two kings, he's telling the king that, don't worry, your Syrian and Israeli enemies are not going to be a threat to you. Within 2 years, the Syrian and Israeli forces plowed in and killed everybody. So that prophecy failed every way that it can fail.
Look, side question, okay? Is it so far a reach to think that fish have feet and can crawl onto land when we have aquatic animals now that crawl onto land like
we have fish that have feet right now.
But I'm thinking of like walruses and things like that. You see, I mean, there you are, right? But
well,
they're mammals, I know.
The thing is there's a lot of misdirection. They want you to think that a fish, a single individual fish, decided one day that it wanted to grow legs, and so it sprouted a pair of human legs and walked out onto the beach. They know that what they're saying is not what's being taught. They know it doesn't work that way. It's an emergent property where we're talking about populations. The best way to explain how evolution works is to explain the evolution of languages, and then everybody will get it. You know how, like, some evangelical ministers will say that there was a first dog was just this amorphous pile of hamburger that suddenly sprouted legs, tail, and whiskers and everything. And then that first dog that poofed out of hamburger sat around for millions of years and then had to go wander around and look for a female dog to mate with, because he thinks that's how that... Well, he knows that that's not how that works. He's a professional liar. So we look at languages. Like, we know that Spanish, French, and Italian, and Romanian, they're all based on Latin, right? Mm-hmm. So Spanish, French, and Romanian all began as cladogenesis, which you have Latin speakers, they move to new land, the language develops little eccentricities, slang terms, and things like that integrate into it until you have distinct languages, right? So French and Spanish are completely, they're not completely different, but they're distinct languages. And Italian became, or developed through a process called anagenesis, where it replaced Latin. But there was never in Italy or Rome, there was never a first guy to speak Italian, wandering around a bunch of Latin-speaking people who then has to go find someone to speak Italian to. It never worked that way. So if you look at works of antiquity, like there are some things that a friend of mine was doing some archaeology in Spain, and she said she found this old book where it was like from the 1500s or so, and it's like not quite Spanish, but nor is it quite Latin anymore. It's it's in this, and so that's what
transitional species.
Exactly. And so that happens with... It's important that people understand that this is an emergent process at the population level. It's not...
Right.
It's not an individual turning into something.
Yeah, and over a long period of time.
And why don't the other apes turn into humans? Well, why don't you grab a handful of Latin-speaking people and put them on some island, hidden behind the King Kong cloud cover that they have in the movies, right? Mm-hmm. So that nobody ever finds them for 2,000 years. Are they going to speak Spanish?
No.
Exactly. They might still speak Latin. They might speak something else, but they're not going to speak Spanish. They're not going to speak French, and they're not going to speak Romanian. It doesn't work that way.
Right. It is a large population thing. Yeah. And then there's a great quote from Thomas Paine where he says, churches are set up to terrify and enslave. And this was something that, I'm reminded of wonderful quotes from Thomas Paine in your chapter about the founding of our country and what the founders believed.
I have a friend that wrote a book called Alpha God, which touches on the same thing very brilliantly. So if your readers are
Alpha God,
yeah, if they're avid readers, that's a really good one, and it talks exactly about how it was our primate mentality that led to people being enslaved the way they are. Why are you on your knees? Why do you have your hands clasped together? That is the slave and bondage position.
Yes, it is,
and it's a submissive position, in honor of the alpha ape. So if God created us in our image, why is he an ape?
What's up, Lily?
Not much. Richard says, we have me crawling out of the bar after last call, referring to the fish.
All right, yes. You're getting out and partying, Richard. Well, that's good to hear, man. What is on your agenda? Did you tell me you're flying across the world here in the next few weeks?
I got a crazy schedule coming up. I have 3 weeks. I have about 3 weeks to prepare for everything. I have to do all of the work that I would normally do in my studio in a given month. I have to do 2 months worth of videos basically in that 3 week period,
okay,
as well as writing all these presentations, because I have to go to. On the 15th, I'll be in Tulsa, Oklahoma for a reunion of the Unholy Trinity, which is myself, Seth Andrews, the Thinking Atheist,
yes,
and Matt Dillahunty of the Atheist Experience TV
wonderful
show.
Yep.
So we will be up in Tulsa doing that, and then as soon as I get back here, I have 3 days before I fly to South Africa. I will be on a paleontological expedition in a wilderness park called the Karoo.
And so what are you looking for?
We're looking for Permian therapsids.
Please explain.
Imagine something that ain't a lizard anymore, but it's not a mammal yet.
And they're known to be in this area, the fossils?
Yes.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, over half of all of the therapsids that have ever been discovered have come from this area. Over half of them.
All right.
So, and on the last expedition, everybody that was on that expedition got to discover and name their own species.
Nice.
Yeah.
In South Africa.
Yes. So I'm excited to find my own Permian therapsid and name it Kofefi.
From the president's tweet? Yeah, we need to name something that. Kofifi or whatever it was.
Well, that's a joke. I would not name it something like that. But,
all right.
But anyway, yeah.
All right, so look, the thing in Oklahoma City, which is regionally kind of close to us here from Dallas, anyone can attend the Unholy Trinity reunion? Yeah,
there are tickets. Okay. I don't have the link readily available, but I can get that to you. And then as soon as we do the, that's on the 15th, as I said, on the 19th, when your event is going to be going on, I'm going to be flying over to Africa, and I'll be there for 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then as soon as I come back, the day after I get back, I will have to be in Miami because I have to. I'm speaking on a cruise ship.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a Caribbean cruise for a week.
Atheist cruise.
The Free Thought cruise.
Free Thought cruise.
Yeah, my wife and I are both speaking on that, and so there'll be a week at sea, and again, no internet access. So I'll be like 3 weeks.
So I have a message you, and I don't hear back. No worries. Right?
And as soon as I get back from that, the next day,
yeah,
I have to be in Austin for Atheist Day.
What day is that?
I want to say the 19th of March.
March?
It could be the 21st. I'm not sure.
We're going to celebrate that here.
Yeah, I believe it's that Monday.
It's your birthday,
whatever it is.
Right?
It's close to my birthday. It's
See?
14th,
Yeah.
so why not?
So yeah, so then I'll have almost 2 weeks to prepare for the next thing. Almost 2 weeks before, because I have to be in London, and I'm doing a debate in London and giving a presentation in Cambridge.
Yeah.
For I'm promoting the Phylogeny Explorer project.
I wish we had a lot more time to talk about all this, but when you're back and kind of settled, please come back and let's bullshit some more.
Okay,
And
happy to.
just chat and tell us about your tales and travels and etc.
I'm sure I won't have anything to talk about after
Yeah, right.
two weeks of being surrounded by lions and hyenas.
What's up, Lily?
Not much. Everyone's been pretty quiet.
Okay. All right. Hey, guess what?
That's because you should have gotten somebody interesting.
You know, we tried, but
The book is Foundational Falsehoods of Creationism, and our wonderful guest is ARON RA. And man, I appreciate you so much being here, and safe travels, man, safe journeys, and look, do you want to talk real quick? We got 1 minute left about your the Ramen podcast.
Ramen podcast. Everybody complains. Everyone can complain, and everybody does. But I want to talk to the people who not only have a plan to make things better, but are already enacting it. So I want to be positive and progressive. So I talk to people who are doing something good.
All right, actively, action steps.
I've done interviews with one guy. The first guy that I interviewed was trying to create a hot fusion reactor that he thought would power the world. And this is a multimillionaire who was running with an actual lab. And I'm like, you know what? There's a shot at this. And he's trying.
Yeah.
It might bankrupt him, but he
Tesla style.
Exactly.
So, yeah, great. But Ramen podcast, go to your website or?
Yeah, I don't have it on Spreaker or anything like. I just upload it to YouTube.
Okay, so YouTube channel. Look up ARON RA, ARONRA, YouTube channel.
Yep.
Any last things, Lily?
oh, not so far, no.
All right, very good. Thank you for being here and helping us.
Thank you for having me.
And we are here every Sunday at 6 o'clock. We archive all the shows on our YouTube channel. We hope you get what you deserve. Big thanks to Ops Manager here and Engineer for tonight, Ziggy Becker. He helps produce these shows, and we really appreciate you, Ziggy, tonight being here, man. Hats off. Lily Lurid, you can see her vending on the 16th of February at Gas Monkey. Thank you for being here, too, and monitoring chat room. Aaron, all the best to you, man. Thanks.
Thank you much.
Yep.
I'll show myself out.
We want you to elevate your life by going underground. By that we mean supporting independent art, independent music, independent print, independent movies.